Hello, Superboy the Legacy fans. This is your Superboy fact checker, Chris Jacobsen. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, the ever irrepressible Tom Gallagher. Hey, Tom.
Hello. And Dave is here as well.
Hello, Dave.
Little Dave Lister.
Man, he has gotten so big.
He is. He's a big boy now. No, he's a good boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to do a commentary on maybe one of the worst episodes. It's funny because you said to me just before we were choosing, it's like, do you want to watch a good episode or one of the really bad ones? And I was like, let's go for a really bad one.
Yep.
And we wanted to do season 1, and then we literally both said Phantom of the Third Division at the same time.
Although we were also thinking about Black Flamingo, which, in my opinion, is by far worse than Phantom of the Third Division.
Yeah. We'll have to do that one soon at some point. It's just as much fun watching the bad ones as the good ones at the end of the day.
Yeah, because there's more chances of laughter.
Yeah.
So I don't know however many of you have been party to our commentary videos. This is not like a typical reaction video. You're not going to see any clips of the episode in it. So you're going to need your own copy. So if you're watching it online, you can either use Tubi or any of the other streaming services where Superboy might be available. I think it's only on Tubi right now. Otherwise, you can use your DVD.
I think you can buy it on YouTube and Amazon, but you have to buy the thing. It's not free. Like Tubi is great because it's free.
Yeah.
But obviously, I can't watch it on Tubi because I'm in the wrong country for it. But yeah.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count you guys in. We'll do 3, 2, 1, and then hit your play button. So be ready. We're going to start, and then start one of the worst episodes of season 1, which is saying a lot.
Yeah. And let's face it, if it's one of the worst of season 1, it's one of the worst overall because season 1 is just the worst season.
Yeah.
Not to say there's not gems in it, but there are a lot of episodes like this.
Indeed, Tom. Indeed. You know, this it has its moments where it's really, really good. It has its moments where it's really, really awful.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna count you in. So get yourselves queued up on either Tubi, your DVD, or if you did buy it on YouTube or Amazon, get yourself queued up. And 3, 2, 1, play.
And one of the last episodes of the first season as well, which is strange because typically we think of season 1 as getting better as it went on, but clearly not in every case.
Absolutely. You know, it seems the way this episode feels almost like it was planned for the first half of the season, you know, before they got everything figured out.
Maybe it was. I mean, let's face it, the pilot was like switched in order. Didn't it air as like episode 6 or something?
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows? Maybe this was supposed to be a bit earlier.
But it does give us a chance to be in Smallville. So that's, and you were commenting on that earlier. As far as guest stars, it has, of course, Stuart Whitman and Salome Jens as the Kents. And you've got the great Joseph Campanella in this as our villain.
And, you know, I know I made fun of it during the intro about this episode, saying it is one of the worst episodes. It's another one that, much like Invisible People, I do like the concept of it. I don't think it fully worked, but yeah.
Written
I think
by
the idea
M. Khan.
But yeah, this is one of those episodes where, in theory, I mean, it gives us a bit more about Jonathan Kent and his history. And in theory, this should be one of my favorite episodes from the season. And, you know, I do quite like it, but it is a guilty pleasure episode. I could never argue that it's one of the better episodes.
It is sort of, referenced in a season 3 episode, the episode's Rebirth, when he goes back to the Kent farm after he thinks he's killed that guy.
Yeah, Martha talks to him about how she didn't know if she could love Jonathan after he'd gone to war and killed someone. Is that the scene?
Yes.
Great scene. And that is another example of, I mean, they dropped a lot of season 1's stuff when they started season 2. But every now and then they'd reference something, or at least they'd say something that falls in line with what's been established in season 1. So it was always nice when they didn't completely forget about things like that. And any time we get to go back to Smallville is always fun.
Gotta say though, I think the what they're using as Smallville in this episode doesn't quite feel like a town in Kansas.
And people used to make fun of like how Smallville looked in the show Smallville, saying like Smallville was massive in that show, and it's like it's not really even a small village anymore. But this, it just looks like Florida. It looks so huge as a location.
Yeah, I mean the later season versions of Smallville, like when we're in season 3 and 4, looks a lot better.
Definitely. And I'd argue, what was the episode where they with the water? People trying to buy land in Smallville to get the
Troubled Waters.
Troubled Waters. I think Smallville even looks slightly better in that episode, but it was probably even the same locations. Maybe it's just how they shot it, but yeah, even just the buildings look a little bit too big to be a small town.
Yeah, it almost looks too Long Island the way it's done.
I was just thinking it just looks like Florida.
Well, I've seen sections of Long Island, towns where I grew up that look exactly like this. I mean the way the paving is done, it doesn't look like what you would consider Kansas.
No, definitely not. I love Stuart Whitman as Jonathan Kent. I think he was great.
Oh, he definitely was.
And the fact that he looks so much like Richard Donner certainly didn't help. Didn't hurt, rather.
Plus, I mean, he had such a storied career before this. I mean, he did movies with John Wayne.
Mm.
And I'm sure that him being on set with John and the other young members of the cast, his experience did help them.
Oh yeah.
And I got to say, that sequence right there with Joseph Campanella, he's really selling, the psychological damage on this character.
Mm. I'm enjoying this episode. It's maybe I've been a little bit too harsh on this episode. Like, I remember this episode being a lot worse. I wonder if we tarnished it with Troubled Waters brush.
Or even worse, tarnished it with Black Flamingo.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, that was the next episode after this.
Yeah.
And of course, you got that obligatory scene that's in every version of Superman. You know, the long shot of the Kent farm, and then the mailbox out front that says Kent on it.
Yeah. I think every version of Superman has had some variation of that shot over the years.
I think Superboy did it first, though.
Yeah, I think they did. I know Superman Returns had a shot like that. I don't remember there being one in Lois and Clark.
No.
But I'm pretty sure there was one like it in Man of Steel, even.
Smallville had it in a lot of episodes.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, seeing just a shot of the farm with the Kent mailbox at the front, it's become kind of an iconic image in Superman now. You could literally put that as the cover for a comic book, and I think, you know, enough people would still buy it. It's not the most exciting cover, but
yeah. As much as Stuart Whitman and Salome Jens do not look like the traditional visual of the Kents.
I don't know. Stuart Whitman looks like I would imagine Jonathan to look until Smallville came along, and suddenly it was the younger looking Jonathan. Stuart Whitman looks enough like the guy from, I forget who played him in Superman the movie, but he looks sort of.
The name is on the tip of my tongue.
Like, if you gave Stuart Whitman a haircut,
Glenn Ford.
That's it, Glenn Ford. Give Stuart Whitman a haircut, and he looks surprisingly like Glenn Ford. So, and the only thing with Martha in this is I don't think she looks quite old enough in season 1, but strangely she does in season 3, even though she hasn't actually aged.
I think it's the hair. I really think it's the hair.
I think you're probably right.
Because my mom always said that depending upon how old you are, the cut of your hair can make you either look younger or older. And the scenes that we see here where it's longer, it kind of makes her look too young.
Yeah, I think part of the thing is with her looking young is just, for so long, Jonathan and Martha Kent were sort of seen as sort of old people. And then Smallville came along and they were younger, and, Annette O'Toole as Martha Kent was fantastic. I thought John Schneider did a great job as Jonathan Kent. But they did sort of change people's idea of what the Kents looked like. And I think even when they made Man of Steel, Kevin Costner is definitely trying to do a bit of John Schneider. I don't know if he's doing it consciously. I think David Goyer, when he wrote it, just maybe had a bit of John Schneider in mind. But yeah. So the age isn't necessarily the problem. I don't know what it is. It's a gut feeling, I suppose.
Here, this scene doesn't make any sense. Okay, you jump out of the car because you're running. You want to get into the hospital to get to your son, who you think has been injured, and somebody calls your name and you run over.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
It would have been the way the scene would have worked a little bit better is if, Joseph Campanella's character came out from behind and grabbed him and then put the gun to him. I mean, they were trying to build suspense on this, but it didn't work. Because, I mean, what parent is going to jump out of the car thinking their son is in the hospital, and somebody calls their name, they're going to run over. Their mind is more.
I mean, they might think that whoever's calling their name knows what happened with Clark. Maybe I don't know. I can see it working fine. It's not the best way the scene could have gone. There would, like you said, if he done what you said and grabbed him and all of that stuff without calling the name, and that probably would have been a better version of the scene. But I don't think it completely breaks the episode necessarily.
Mm.
Now, overall, I'm thinking that I may have dismissed this episode a bit too harshly in the past because it's not as bad as I remember. I mean, it's not great, but why did he actually need to steal an ambulance, though? I know that he was at the hospital, but he didn't need an ambulance. Surely any truck could have worked.
Well, I think because ambulances, they do have the ability to, with the gurneys in the back.
Yeah, and they can go through red lights, like traffic lights and stuff, and
yeah, and of course you can strap Jonathan to the gurney inside. He doesn't have to handcuff him or anything like that.
True.
Did you notice that how John pulls his hand away? So it's like, let go.
I mean, he's a little bit overly happy to see Superboy, but she was kind of rude to him. Yeah. Somebody stole an ambulance. You don't check the lost and found.
Well, we don't know the interaction that this nurse has had with this EMT in the past.
True.
He could have had a situation where he, in the past, misplaced his ambulance, and she's like, again.
Yeah, that's true. I think she's just more annoyed that he, butted in on the conversation. That scene worked for me.
Yeah.
I think that was a good scene, and you can see the pain on both the characters' faces as they say all this.
Well, you got two very talented actors right here doing this scene. It's not like some of the extras that they've had over the years.
Yeah. Let's face it, there's been a lot of guest actors on Superboy over the years, and not all of them were great. But these guys do a good job. And I'm sure Stuart Whitman, appreciated getting something extra to do in this episode. He's not just there to give Clark some fatherly advice. Like, he's actually getting to do some stuff, and he's got some action going on. Must have been a fun day to shoot.
I don't know if he'd agree with you on that, considering that there's explosions going on around him.
Yeah, but I don't know what he's like. Maybe he enjoyed himself,
Yeah.
Like I could see, like, you know, if I was an actor, I could see myself really enjoying this day. But then I can also see why some people maybe wouldn't. Oh dear.
Good work, Clark.
John really did a good job in that scene, walking through like the explosions weren't phasing him. He did a really good job in that moment. This scene is just heartbreaking. That's a nice line as well.
Oh, yeah. You know, I think we were a little harsh on this episode.
This end scene is genuinely moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've been too harsh on this episode. I think I've had good reason to reevaluate this one.
The only thing my only problem I have here is, does Jonathan own any other clothes other than a set of overalls?
He does seem to wear them an awful lot, doesn't he?
I mean, especially in this episode. I mean, Martha, at least she's wearing something different. He's wearing the exact same outfit.
Nice little moment of levity at the end there.
Yeah.
Because this episode, let's face it, it ended kind of on a bit of a downer for a while. But
yeah, and it has something, you know, in common with Back to Oblivion. That also ended on a down note, and then it had a moment of, you know, not so much levity, but, you know, Lana showing up and saying, "Let me give you a ride home."
Mm.
Yeah, we definitely have given this episode a little bit of a short shrift here.
Yeah, and you know, if the writer of this episode ever happens to see this, we do apologize. I think the fact that we've changed our view on the episode should say a fair bit. Yeah. I did not expect to actually come away liking Phantom of the Third Division.
Yeah, I mean it has moments where it's a little
Clunky.
off.
Yeah.
I mean that whole sequence with the bikers at the beginning is a little.
Yeah, that scene didn't really even need to be there. You know, what purpose did it really?
I hate to put it like this. Maybe like that other episode we did, bringing down the house. Maybe it was done as filler.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they were experimenting a lot with the first season. Maybe more episodes than they expected came in like under running time, whatever. It still happens to this day. And it's like that joke in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Like the episodes were running 10 minutes under, which is why any shot that doesn't include dialogue was considered for slow motion.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
definitely a better episode than I remember it being.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would have, before doing this commentary today, I maybe would have given it like a 5 out of 10 and considered it lucky to get that because I remembered it being a pretty shockingly bad episode. But watching it again now, I enjoy it. I would give this a solid 7 out of 10.
I might give it like a 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah, 7, between 7 and 8. It's definitely not an 8. But,
yeah. And what brings it down for me, obviously, of course, is that sequence with the bikers, and that bad scene when Jonathan pulls up to the hospital.
Yeah, and even that, like we said, that scene where he pulls up to the hospital could have been fixed so easily.
Yeah,
it's just the way it goes sometimes, isn't it?
And I mean, if you look at the scene when Jonathan pulls up, it doesn't seem like there's anybody else in the parking lot. So, I mean, Tom.
I still think though, if you're going to visit your son in the hospital and as soon as you pull up, you hear someone call your name, I would just assume they must know what's going on with Clark. And so I would go to them because I'd be like, well, clearly they know something. That's the only reason that scene doesn't take me out of the episode. I think it's still, it's not perfect, but it works well enough. It's serviceable. Let's just put it that way. It's a serviceable scene.
Yeah. That's what brings it down for me. I mean, everything else about the episode is spot on.
That last 5 minutes of the episode, I thought was really, really good. Like all the stuff where he's putting Jonathan through, essentially an obstacle course with actual landmines buried in the ground. Like that's great. And then when Jonathan starts to talk to him and the guy starts to snap out of it, and then he's not even snapping out of it. It's like he snapped back into the wall and he's shooting. Genuinely, I thought that scene was really moving. I was shocked at how well that grabbed me emotionally. I thought that was really solid.
Just Jonathan's speech to him that whenever there's a war involved, no one is a winner.
Yeah, war makes losers. What was it? War makes losers of us all, or something.
Yeah.
Great line. And I don't know if that's quoting something. Maybe there's like a famous war poem or something. I don't know that has that in it because it's quite a poetic line. But if it was something that was made up for the episode, I think that's a really good line. And whoever wrote this episode should be proud of themselves for that line because I thought that was a very poignant moment.
Yeah, I mean it talks about one of the forgotten wars. Essentially, everybody remembers World War I. Everybody remembers World War II. Everybody remembers Vietnam, but very few people remember Korea. And unless of course you're talking about MASH. That's the way most people nowadays remember Korea is through MASH.
See, I only really know of the Korean War because like I'm a fan of oldies music, and I know that a load of the singers that I most enjoy went and performed like I don't know if they were called USO shows at that time, but they
Yeah.
used to go over and perform the shows. And it was during the Korean War that one of the singers that I'm a fan of actually, because he was getting quite old and he overdid it, and basically it killed him. He got some kind of, I think it was malaria or something, but he died as a result of going and performing for the soldiers during the Korean War, which is the only reason it's, yeah. But we should remember the Korean War, because let's face it, wasn't the Korean War the whole reason we've got North and South Korea today? Wasn't that the whole point of it? So, so people should know about it, because we're still dealing with the after effects of it. Like, let's face it, North Korea are still a problem. Like,
absolutely. Not to get political or anything here.
I doubt anyone watching it is gonna mind that I've said that North Korea can be a problem. I don't think we've got any fans that are pro North Korea. I'd be very surprised if we do.
Yeah. But this is such a great episode. A lot better than I remember it being. I mean, it's still not a 10.
No, there's definitely not. But a solid 7.5 is not bad. There's movies that made a hell of a lot of money that I wouldn't give a better score than that.
Yeah.
And granted, when we do score Superboy out of 10, it's not a universal scale against other TV shows. It's just against other Superboy.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. It's like, Road's Not Taken and Mindscape and Mind Games and, the best of season 3 and 4. They would be the 10. But that's not to say that there aren't other shows that have done what is technically better television.
Right.
It's not my favorite like Superboy would be my favorite of the two, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And there's some solid acting in there from both Stuart Whitman and Joseph Campanella. Joseph Campanella, who later went on to, I've mentioned this before, he was the voice of Dr. Kurt Connors on the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s, but he also was in a season 1 episode of Lois and Clark.
Who was he in that? Because I was thinking I recognized him, but I couldn't place it. It was annoying me throughout the whole commentary.
Do you remember the episode, season 1 episode, when that government agency raids the Daily Planet looking for information about Superman, and they start
interview everyone, yeah. And
then all of a sudden, a government agent shows up at the Daily Planet, thinking that. And Lois thinks that he's going to give them information about this organization, when actually he's trying to kind of.
He was the guy that was. Mm-hmm. He's the reason they get into the warehouse and Clark finds the ship and all of that, isn't it? Is that the one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know who he is. He also gets killed in the episode.
Yeah. Which is a shame. It's always a shame when they introduce a character that you think, actually, this could be a really interesting ally for Superman. That, it'd be interesting for him to pop back up over the coming seasons, and they can't.
Yeah.
It's always a shame when a show does that. But, it still happens to this day. I mean, one of the breakout characters in Star Trek Strange New Worlds was their chief engineer. I forget his name now, but he was the Andorian. Hemmer. Loved Hemmer. I think everybody loved Hemmer. And they killed him off. And it's like, they loved working with the actors. They're saying like, oh, he'll be back, but like the actor will be back, but they'll have him as a different character now. But it's like people really like that character. But by the time the studio knew that, his death scene had been shot months prior. So
yeah. And who they're replacing him with for next season is interesting.
I don't know who they're replacing him with.
Carol Kane.
Carol Kane. Why is that name familiar?
Scrooged. She was the ghost of Christmas Present.
Yes. Yeah, you did tell me. Yeah, I like her. I liked her in Taxi as well.
As Latka's wife.
Yeah. She was hilarious, I mean, I love her in Scrooge. Like, she's just beating the shit out of Bill Murray.
Well, given what we know about Bill Murray over the last few years, it's apropos.
Yeah. Let's face it, Bill Murray has done some. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
I still respect the guy's career and his performances and stuff. I still watch Groundhog Day every year on Groundhog Day.
Such a great movie.
It really is. Maybe we could do a commentary on that for this year's Groundhog Day. We'll watch it together. It may get no views whatsoever on YouTube, but
I'll have to actually get a copy of it because I don't actually own it.
Well, I've got it on DVD. I'll rip mine for you and send you a copy just for that. Although I probably shouldn't just admit to that on a show that's going public because it's technically piracy. But yeah, I'll just cut that bit out.
Yeah.
But no, we'll sort you out with a copy of Groundhog Day. Let's face it, the movie is so old at this point that you'll probably be able to find it on DVD for like $2, if that. So we'll find a copy for you somewhere, even if I just send you mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, this episode though, I want to wrap this up because we do like to keep the commentaries shorter, even though I think the last commentary, which was Standoff, I think was over an hour, even though the episode is only 23 minutes. So we definitely went on a tangent on that one. But
more than one.
Yeah, and just bear in mind for people that watch that and think that was kind of a long episode, I cut about half an hour out of it. Like there's about half an hour I cut. Like there's a good 10 minutes where I just talk about Star Trek Online. And yeah, and then I go on a rant about Tracy Scoggins' Cat Grant at one point that really only needed to be one sentence, so now that's all it is. But yeah, anyway, this episode was so much better than I remember. I'm really glad that we gave it another chance today. And I hope that just by seeing that we've done a commentary on it, I'm hoping that some of the people watching this now have given it another chance and see what we're talking about, in that this episode is better than perhaps we gave it credit for.
Yeah. I'm hoping it turns some people around. It certainly turned me around watching it with you. I mean, I always thought it was an okay episode. Wasn't a great episode.
That's all I thought. I thought it was just an okay episode with no scenes that elevated it. But that final 5 minutes did elevate it. Like, yeah. I thought that ending was kind of wonderful.
Yeah, and just as they're panning over the car, just before Jonathan gets in, just looking at that face that Joseph Campanella as Tom has on, it's almost like he's not there anymore. And he really sells that.
Yeah,
such a good actor he was.
And the line from Martha about how she doesn't know why Jonathan feels the need to actually be the one to drive him back to I forget what they actually called it. I think they called it a sanatorium.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of an outdated term these days, but I don't know. Maybe it's still a term used. I've not heard that
very, very, very rarely is it ever used.
Yeah, it's like the term like asylum. People typically don't use asylum anymore. They're care facilities now. But
unless of course you're talking about Gotham.
Yeah. Gotham City is never going to change the name of Arkham Asylum. Yeah. Yeah. Really enjoyed this episode a lot. Thank you all so much for watching alongside us. I certainly hope that it's maybe changed your opinion on the episode slightly as well. Maybe you've always liked this episode. If that's the case, leave us a comment and tell us, like, you're mad this has always been a great episode. Like, if that's how you feel about it, let us know. But yeah, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We do thank you so much for watching, and we will be seeing you on the next one.
Yep. Same super time, same super channel.
Up and away. Goodbye.